In this video, we talk about why we love you, but it's less fun to be doing this video than going to the Kentucky Oaks. What's up, everyone? It's Brian B.
And Miss Emily.
And for those of you guys who don't know, this is Kentucky Derby weekend. We're shooting this video from Louisville, Kentucky, the home of the Derby. It has run 143 years on the first Saturday in May, with one exception. World War, whatever it was, 1940 something.
Spanish flu.
No, I ran on that year. 1940 something, they ran it in June, and so I'm not giving up. We still got a chance that they could run the Derby, but it's not going to be on the first Saturday in May. But anyways, you guys who don't know, these videos are partially entertaining and partially educational. We are going to do a Q&A from all of the questions that came in over the week via email, YouTube, Facebook, and if you have any questions, you can type them in. Ben will share them with you. But so we all know the Derby is for 3-year-old horses. It's the first Saturday in May. It's the second biggest horse race.
It is?
No, the fourth, I lied. The fourth biggest horse race. We all know the Triple Crown, the Preakness, the Belmont, and the Derby. The fourth biggest horse race in the world is?
The Kentucky Oaks.
So it is all female horses. 3-year-old female horses are the Kentucky Oaks, and the color is?
Pink.
For the lilies. So this is a lily. What is so we all know a mint julep.
It's a version.
A mint julep is the drink of the Kentucky Derby, but what is the drink of the Kentucky Oaks?
So the Oaks is it's more than I thought it was. It's vodka, it's orange liqueur, it's lime juice or lemon juice.
No cranberry?
No, well, a little bit of cranberry, but at the track they do like a mixed thing, so you don't really
If
know
you're a
what's
New Englander or my mom, you would call it a Cape Codder.
If it's only vodka and
Cranberry juice, but it's close to a Cape Codder.
Mix.
So there you go. There's your history. Thanks for catching me up.
You're welcome.
Oh, wait, cheers.
Cheers.
There we go.
Elbow bump.
Oh, elbow bump.
Gotta go.
There we go. So I'm going to finish off my drink. So we have a Q&A. We've got a bunch of questions that have come in via email, YouTube, Facebook. This is your half hour, so we'll do whatever you want. But we're going to start with some questions. Mr. Benjamin has a mic. He can go into radio. So what do we got for the first question, Ben?
The first question talks about your thoughts on private lessons. What are your thoughts about private lessons with instructors moving forward?
So private lessons, what are private lessons going to look like in our dance world moving forward? Here in our studio, they've given us the go-ahead to open with a bunch of social distancing restrictions and such, and I'm sure it's different state by state, different open late dates. So first let me preface this to quote our president, I'm not a doctor. So I don't officially know, but if I follow the rules, I told them I was going to say that, they're palming their foreheads. I told Ben. Oh. So, what are private lessons going to look like? First of all, I think that's the first most likely thing to come back. As I looked at what the dance industry and ballroom dance studios would be most aligned with, I used to kind of think that they threw us in with gyms because we're kind of fitness, but really we're more like hair salons, right? If there's someone who's cutting hair, they have appointments coming in every 30 minutes, every hour. So much the same way as private lessons where the teachers are here. So what will that look like? My goal as a studio owner, we had a conversation with the staff to make sure that we understood what they were comfortable and not comfortable with in general. And then, of course, as a business owner, I have a responsibility to follow the rules. So here in Kentucky, we have to have masks. We have to have gloves. I think my goal is when we open that we're going to have our first week or two of private lessons where we don't even touch the students in our typical, we'll just kind of do coaching lessons to get people in and moving around. I'm sure there's probably rules related to how many people can be in the space at one time. I think for most studios, the amount of people in the room will not be a major issue. There's smaller studios with smaller spaces, typically have only a couple of teachers. There's larger studios that are as much as 10,000 square feet where they might have many different staff members, but it's an enormous space. So follow the guidelines in your local city and state. And hopefully that will come back first. And I'm kind of tracking other industries that are bigger than ours. And the one that I'm watching is hair salons specifically to see what the rules are around those places. Question number 2.
Moving on to competitions. What do you think competitions will look like?
What will competitions look like moving forward? This is the scariest one for me, and I actually saw this question off camera, and they asked, would it be possible, am I correct, Ben, that the rest of the question was like, would it be possible to do live videos? Is that all part of the same question?
No, different question, but same concept, yeah.
So dance competitions. Again, it's going to be regulated by the states that we're in. So we have a competition scheduled that we're supposed to attend in late June. We heard Indiana is going to open up for groups of up to 250 people by mid-June. So it looks like that will be on. Well, here's the uncomfortable part for me, because we run a couple of different events. One of them is supposed to be next weekend. It was canceled. One of them is the last weekend in January, which I'm still cognizant and a little bit concerned with, even though it's far off in the future. Events and hotel contracts do not work the way a lot of us think. So the hotel asks for a guarantee to reserve the ballroom space, right? And they ask for a guarantee of amount of business. And us as business owners and event directors, we kind of look at how many people we can produce, and we come up with our metrics and how much money we're going to make. But the problem is, in those hotel contracts, if you miss your numbers, you don't just miss them by a little bit, you immediately start to incur bigger and bigger fees. So those events either work pretty well or they lose a lot of money quickly. So my concern with events is, how will event directors and hotels work together, and what is the travel industry work like in general? If we're still restricted to the same types of contracts that we were even 2 months ago, it's going to be very difficult to hit those numbers. My guess is that hotel contracts will start to change, and hopefully they will accommodate what's going on moving forward. Because as events, if the event that we're talking about is expecting 300 attendees and they can only have 250 in the ballroom, we're going to need to make some concessions. So that is my thoughts around events.
Next question. How do you accomplish social distancing while dancing?
How do we accomplish social distancing by dancing? Line dancing is great, and that is going awesome. The line dance numbers are huge on online lessons, because I started as a line dancer. It's still actually, fun fact, my first love as a dancer. I was literally dancing in my office a couple of hours ago, coming here with my headphones in all by myself, line dancing. So I think you accomplish social distancing by following the rules, right? Number one, we have to pass everything through the laws of the land. Number two, we have to pass through our own and maybe our partners or teachers' comfortable level of comfortableness with the situation. So I don't know, and was it specifically about private lessons?
No, it just said social distancing.
Yeah, so private lessons is not so terrible because we're not switching partners at a rapid rate. Group classes for me are the next level that I think could come back in a smaller capacity. Social dances and events, I just don't know. I'm not a doctor. I do not know. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. I think as we all open up and we watch other industries that are bigger than ours, I look at live sports. I look at other industries that get more attention, like hair salons. Those are the places that I'm looking that will sort of tell us where our industry might go, because the governors aren't coming on and saying, hey, ballroom dance studios, we got you covered. You can have group classes up to 12 people. That type of stuff isn't coming along.
The next question is, are there any exercises to help strengthen the legs to hold the balance point? Does Miss Megan have any skater's tips for this?
She does, and oddly enough, we just shot our ultimate guide to spins and turns, version 2.0. We did the first version over 4 years ago. We just reshot version 2.0. If you guys are interested in that, it includes this drill and a bunch of other stuff. I'm gonna hop out and let Megan answer that question, but if you're interested in the full course, we'll put the sign up below. It's not available yet, but you can click on and be on the wait list, and we'll shoot you an email when it's ready. Take it away, Miss Megan.
All right, so I hope you can see all of me. So for balance and stability, really it's more a stability drill for your ankle. What we did in skating was we would have to do one-legged stands. We usually have our arms out just because it does help with your balance, but you would have to stand on one leg as long as you could and make like little adjustments through your foot. Now, I will say my whole foot is on the ground right now. When you get better at it, you can rise up onto your three-toe base that we will talk about in that course, or that Brian has talked about in previous things, and you will be able to create your stability within that three-toe base with your ankle as well. For an extra tidbit on this and make it harder, you want to do this with your eyes closed once you get good at balancing by yourself without closing your eyes, because it takes away the spatial awareness around you. So you do the same thing, you just close your eyes and feel everything back and forth, and that is your drill from a skater's perspective and what we had to do to learn how to stabilize our ankles.
Can you segue into and give them the pivot drill so they can practice pivoting that and holding that?
So another drill, I'm going to do this way first. This is actually a pivot drill, but we're going to do this little hold first, which is also going to help with stabilization in your ankle. You're going to go through your heel to your toe, or to your toe to your heel, but probably heel to toe will be a little bit easier right now. You're going to rock all the way forward and try to balance there until, as Brian puts it, your face hits the floor. But if we were to do this in a pivot drill, you're going to rock forward and in a quarter turn and back, forward, quarter turn. Try to balance as you get there, and then rock back, forward, quarter turn, and hold. Within those drills, you can also go on a stair and do ankle raises or like up on your toes. That's also going to strengthen and stabilize your ankles.
Are we on? Yes. Benjamin, what is our next question?
The next couple of questions go into rock and goes. The first one is, what is the point of a rock and go? I don't understand the importance or the benefit of using the move.
Megan, you want to take a stab at this? Why would we do a rock and go?
We've
defined that in a previous video, but why does a rock and go exist?
You do not need to do a rock and go. You don't have to, but they are very helpful in if you want to hit the one and you know you don't have, or your pattern is going to take too many counts, you can always do a rock and go and potentially get there, because it does take out 2 beats. It is also really fun. It combines 2 different moves together. I like them just because usually there's a turn out of them, and I like to turn. Anything else?
And I answered the email actually back this morning. I got to it. Boom, I beat you to it. So the question was, why do you do a rock and go? And one of my responses is, like, why would we do a reverse whip? Meaning, I have a whip that works great, right? And in the beginning, that's a struggle, and I've just learned my 6-count patterns, and I have a whip, and I'm like, dude, I got an 8-count pattern that's already blown my mind. That's hard enough. Like, why would I do a reverse whip that goes the other direction when I have a whip?
Because you can.
Why do you climb Mount Everest? Because it's there. So it's nothing more than just a tool. It is not a basic pattern. I like to teach it kind of in this series of what people need to know next in 2 different ways. Number one is the follower, Miss Megan, could be dancing with a beginner or super advanced dancer. If she only knows her beginner patterns, and she doesn't know, if she knows all the patterns known to man, but she doesn't know a rock and go exists, it's something that could be tossed at her. So as a follower, it's good to know that it exists in a couple of different ways it can be applied. And as a leader, it's a great way to take, if I had 2 basic patterns out of beginner class, a whip, right? And then I had an inside turn, right? I could take the whip, use a rock and go right to an inside turn. And to Megan's point, if we had something to hit, like let's say on the 5 of music, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. We weren't able to do anything on the 5 and 6, but if we use the rock and go, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5. So there I used 2 rock and goes because I had no idea how that was going to work out mathematically. So it's a tool that we can use to combine otherwise easier patterns in more complicated ways. And then it's a tool that we can use to access musicality and connecting our dancing to the music. So not necessary, but it is quite fun. If you guys don't know what a rock and go is in general, we released a video yesterday. Just go into Google and put in what is a rock and go, and we did the ultimate guide to rock and goes, which I feel like we failed because we got a lot of questions about the rock and go. But that's what I like about this we are able to find the questions that you guys want, and we'll be able to plug the holes and add some cool stuff. So Mr. Benjamin has our next question.
Yes, still on the rock and go. It seems as if the leader's step forward is right replace left and then back right. It seems as if it's just a variation of the front basic and salsa. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Good question. So the leader's footwork, and this, if you've watched a lot of my videos on rock and goes, there are other advanced dancers who teach the footwork differently. So if I did the leader's footwork for the rock and go, so I can kind of give you an example of what the person who's asking the question is talking about. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. Normally, we would anchor step 7 and 8, right? But I don't want Megan to anchor step. I want her to rock and go and come out of that. So really, it doesn't matter what I do with my feet. It matters that I don't let her anchor step, but I lead her to rock and go, to rock back and step forward, right? So what I do with my lead, whether it's my left hand, my right hand in closed position, or in a two-hand hold, whether it's both hands, it's not so important in the footwork, but to the, I say readers, video watchers question, it looks like a salsa basic a little bit with my right foot going forward. That's just one of the ways. There's a couple different people. If I can steal Miss Megan, we'll go this way so they can see my footwork a little bit better. This is the way that we teach it. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. Anchor step will be next, but instead I go rock and go, right? So I'm dancing right, left, right is the leader. There is a way that more advanced dancers dance this where they actually stay back with that right foot. It doesn't matter what the footwork does, it more matters what the lead does. So we tend to teach, we don't live, if there's a pyramid, you're good. If there's a pyramid of dancers, it's really a reverse pyramid, right? A funnel, if you will. Everyone comes in through the top end of the funnel. We're all beginners. So everybody who takes a class starts at the beginning. Maybe they take a class and they go home, they never come back. Maybe they take another class. Maybe they take a bunch of classes. Maybe they become intermediate dancers, they become advanced dancers, and they become professional dancers. So we tend to be cognizant of the fact that people are coming in through this part of the funnel. So once people get down to the advanced dancer funnel, I'm not worried about them because those are the people that aren't going to quit. They've been through the frustrations, they've stayed the course, but our goal at West Coast Swing Online is largely to support everyone until they become okay, right? So obviously we have plenty of high-level content, we've taught plenty of high-level dancers, we've competed at a high level ourselves. Miss Emily has a US Open West Coast Swing title back in 2013, so that's pretty legit. But my goal is our goal is to teach things in the most applicable way for the most amount of people. Being aware that there are certainly different ways, and even within the group of us, we all dance things differently, but we tend to teach things in the easiest way, which is why, long-winded answer, why I teach the rock and go with a little rock step for the leaders. The next question, as we're shuffling a microphone back off camera.
How do you know where to place the leader's frame when setting up for one-footed spins?
How do I know where to place the leader's frame? I don't have to repeat the question. Benjamin has a microphone. So if we're talking about one-footed spins, how do I know to place the leader's frame? Miss Megan, that's a clue. That's a cue. You don't have to talk. You just have to dance. So when we're talking about one-footed spins, we're talking about setting up this position. The question was specifically, how do I know where to place the leader's frame? The easy answer is back early on in our dancing, we might have learned what we call a flashlight principle. You can actually Google this, flashlight West Coast Swing. You'll come up with a blog post because we have like 6 million blog posts on every esoteric part of West Coast Swing. So the flashlight principle is if I had a flashlight in my stomach and we did a pattern, that I would be keeping my flashlight to my partner, right? I would be keeping this facing my partner. So if I'm doing a one-footed spin, I don't want to take my flashlight, and you guys can't see this, but we'll do ESPN 360 cam. I'm setting up the one-footed spin, and I'm faced to a completely different direction. So in terms of where my frame or my center or the what my friend Jason Miklick calls the circle of trust, this is the circle of trust, right? If my partner's always in the circle of trust, my partnering abilities are going to be okay, and they're going to be really good, actually, right? Because this is always, Megan's always in this space. So as I'm setting up the one-footed spins, if I do this from behind, if I'm doing this, I'm not facing her whatsoever, right? But if I keep her in my circle of trust, right, where my foot goes, literally this foot just landed because I felt that's where she's going. So by the time we set the one-footed spins up, she is in my circle of trust. So I am keeping this part of me focused on my partner most of the time. What's our next question?
Is it possible to use preps to change direction instead of using an anchor or a rock and go?
Is it, oh, this is an interesting one. Is it possible to use preps to change direction rather than a rock and go?
It would still be a rock and go.
Yeah, a prep. You stumped me, I quit. I was teasing. I don't know. I don't fully understand the question. Anyone? Bueller?
I don't have a microphone, but
you
my
talking?
opinion on that is that a prep in the hand is still going to result in a rock and go in the feet.
Yeah, so a little bit of a the clarification was 3 preps forward to replace the anchor or rock and go.
3 preps forward to replace the anchor or rock and go. So if I understand, it could be this. 1, 2, 6. And then I could use 3 steps forward. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's, okay. If I use this, for those of you guys who don't know, which I didn't know 30 seconds ago, if I did something like this, 5, 6, right? Could I go 7 and 8 into something? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is a, certainly less common, but if you scoured, if you went and watched an hour of YouTube videos and high-level West Coast swing dancers, you'd probably find that. You'd probably find it in some instance that there was something in the music where they would go 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 1 and 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, where there was some accent to the music. So yeah, there's a bagajillion.
Probably easier from closed position.
Certainly easier from closed position. And my kind of thoughts on that, to Emily's point, was in closed position, I have access to my partner's body, right? So if Megan wants to step back, she's either got to do a lot of stuff wrong or just duck right out of this if she's connected to me, right? Which is welcome to West Coast Swing in 2020. No, West Coast Swing in 2020 is like this. 6 feet away.
No, you dance with the poles.
Dance with the poles. Scarves.
There's videos.
There you go. We could dance with scarves. So Ben would only have to dance with like a 1-inch piece of cloth because he's tall. But if you're short, you have to dance with longer. Hey, people said they like when these things go off the rails, and it's starting to happen.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing started because it was supposed to be fun.
Supposed to be fun. Is it not fun?
I am having fun.
Look, it was not fun when we sucked the first 3 days of our live videos. That was not fun.
No, it was not.
That was the closest I came to crying over dancing that wasn't happy tears ever. Anyways.
Back on track. First of all, we got the question, so
Boom.
Nicely done. Next question. Have you ever met or competed against Jason Calacino and Katie Boyle?
Have I met or competed against? I've not competed against Jason and Katie. Can you pour me some more of that fine bourbon? By the way, since we're off the rails tonight, this is my current, I think it's a cool bottle. Old Forester's Statesman. I like that quite a bit. Have I met? If you guys haven't seen that, I think these guys are going to drop a link to the Honky Tonk Woman video. Jason Collis. Oh, there you go. Jason and Katie, Jason Colacino passed away probably about a decade ago. I don't remember the story around it. He was young, in his probably late 30s. And so he was around and was a top dancer. I think they finished as high as 3rd at the US Open. And so, yes, I met them and danced with them in events. In fact, if you look at that Honky Tonk Woman video, it's from a, Ben's gonna drop in the link in the description below, or in Facebook somewhere in the feed. And we had at the Country Dance World Championships, we had a USA versus the World Challenge. So it's a worldwide event. There's dancers from all over the world. So they had a team from the rest of the world and a team from America. And we would dance a West Coast swing couple against a West Coast swing couple and a two-step couple against a two-step couple and a line dance. Actually, they had two of us, two line dancers versus two line dancers, and they had this lineup, and I was part of Team USA. So if you look at that video, I am way in the back right of the video, sitting down, as Emily said, I'm back in the corner of the video, doing this a lot. I'm pumping my fist. So yeah, so I knew them. I still see Katie around at dance events, but I did not compete against them. They were kind of in a different world at that time. They were at the top of West Coast swing. I think they finished as high as third in the US Open, but they were definitely some of the people that I looked up to initially. And Jason did this really cool spin where he spun like in this position. And it's one of the rare dance moves that I thought, I'm a pretty good spinner and I can do that. And I was never actually able to do, he would do a whip and catch the back and then spin in this position. I'm too old to be in that position. In that position and come back out of it. And I could never do it. What are you laughing at me for? That's pretty good. I went running right before this.
Watch the video, it's legit.
It's legit. So he does that spin. I always wanted to do that, and I never could. I literally never could. And I tried a lot. And that spin was in my wheelhouse.
Brian B. It's like the Where's Brian B. It's like Where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo? Find Brian B in that video.
Next question. Are we going to see you take part in the Pro Line Dance Challenge that Clive has started?
Are you going to see?
Nominated.
Are you going to see me take part in the Pro Line Dance Challenge? I have actually kind of respectfully been out of all of the challenges. Probably not, but maybe. Maybe.
It's now cha-cha. Samba's done. It's now cha-cha.
Either one.
You haven't been nominated.
I haven't been nominated. I did get nominated for a couple of different things on Facebook. One of them was the wear your country costume in random ways.
Because it's Siobhan.
And so I got nominated by a couple people that I really, good friends that I like and respect.
Okay, you should do it.
So I might do that one, but the one that I really actually have to, and this is quite fun. Did you see a little video of Shani McKeever?
Yeah.
So I got to tell you this story, because I got nominated by the push-up challenge for Shane McKeever. Two funny stories since can I get a chair? We'll chair this up. Make sure I'm in the video a little bit. Just go.
You're fine.
Are we good?
You're good.
Perfect.
Yeah, so these are two funny stories. When I was line dancing in the late 90s, I won the Superstar title in 2000 in Nashville. And so after the Superstar competition, they had all the teenagers, and I had a bunch of teens that I taught here from Louisville, so they all came out and they danced. They were all good, and they moved good, and so the whole audience was really into look at the youth that's involved in line dancing at that time. But there was a 6-year-old boy from Ireland dressed in head-to-toe white and a white cowboy hat. And he brought the house down. And someone recently shared that video. Someone from Nashville, literally videoed their screen of probably a VHS tape from 2000, literally over 20 years ago. And this thing went viral. It's probably been seen 50,000 times in like the past couple of days. And so I came across that. I've logged on to Facebook fairly infrequently this past month. And I logged on, I saw that video. And so you just linked it? Super cool. And so Shane, over the years, I danced line dance for the next like 10, 12 years competitively, and I was the winningest line dancer in UCWDC history. I still hold the record for the males. I got tied in the female. But so 10, 12 years in, someone said, Brian B., when are you going to stop competing in line dance? And I said, when Shane McKeever gets to my division. And Shane was about 18 years old, and they said, hey, Shane McKeever, when are you going to dance in the top division? And he says, when Brian B. gets out of the division. So 2 years after that conversation, I was done and retired and sat on the side of the floor to watch Shane compete in Superstars. I think was his first time.
Yeah.
Right in the front. And he competed and did a Garth Brooks solo. He wore a shirt that his grandfather had bought in Nashville, Tennessee in January of 2000. So this is like 15 years later. 15 years later, right? Shane McKeever is now 20, 21 years old. He's a bad mama jama. I have a bad back. I'm glad I wasn't competing against him. and he danced in his grandfather's shirt and won the world championship in the division. So I wrote Shane a message last night, and I said, man, how cool. And he says, it's so funny, Brian, I'm watching this video of me when I'm 6. He goes, sure as hell look like I'm having a good time, but I don't remember any of it. And I said, the rest of us, Shane, when we were that age, we don't have video footage of us. I was like, I remember that because I was like 27 years old. 25. And yeah, so super cool story, and he now has kids. And so he nominated me for the push-up challenge, but because it's Shane McKeever, and the one thing left on my dance bucket list is what? Dance a routine with Shane McKeever. So that is gonna happen. I told him, you gotta hurry up, buddy, I'm getting crippled.
That was the last question that we had.
That was the last question. Do you guys have any more questions or any more stories? I got a little bourbon left right in this glass. We'll hang out. How many people are watching?
41.
41. 41 people that have nothing to do tonight, and you're willing to watch me sit here and drink bourbon on Derby weekend.
Kelly's one of them.
Also make lilies.
So you should all make lilies. You can look up the lily recipe.
Lilies for the lilies.
Or a, what do you call it? A mint julep recipe. Which mint juleps are very...
Or the Woodford Spires.
The Woodford Spire. So, Derby's on Saturday. Kentucky Oaks, that's tomorrow. This is the Kentucky Oaks. So right around this time last year, we're getting ready to go to the Derby Gala. We went to a gala and we saw CNC Music Factory and Mark McGrath and who else?
A whole bunch of people.
I can't remember.
The guy
Casey and the Music, what's Casey and the Sunshine Band?
No.
Yeah. So what they did at this gala, they hired the best cover band in Louisville, right? And then they hired the front man to all of these bands. So we went to this gala. We couldn't afford to go for the regular price because it's way too, it has extra zero that I don't write a check that has that extra zero after the comma. To the left of the comma. I don't write checks that have that zero on it. that one on it. I just stay where there's no comma. And $100 is fine, $1,000 not fine. So tickets are super expensive, so we got a dance-only ticket, and we went there, and ignorantly, we walked in and we ordered a drink. You know, it's bourbon, it's Kentucky, and we asked how much it was. Like, oh no, it's on the house, because basically those people spent like $2,000 to have dinner. But the music was fantastic, and it was one of my favorite dance nights, because at this stage when we go dancing, it's, oh, Brian B., would you dance with me? And you're dancing with everybody, and there's an on, you have to be on, because it's a room full of dancers. But this was cool. It was a room full of people having a party. It was all these front men from these bands of songs that we all know. Emily's gonna look them up. And we danced off to the side, literally by the service door that they were serving. And all the rich people were dancing in front. They were super cool. And we just danced off to the side, and I felt like they were all playing for me. Who's the list? Do we have them?
They're all from different things, but Mark McGrath was one of them.
Mark McGrath from Sugarfly. Louisville Crashers was
where we were sitting because it had a dance sign on it.
Okay, that's why I stole that sign. I thought the dance sign was for me.
No.
I have a Unbridled Eve sign in my office, and it says dance on it. But apparently that was for the cover band. I thought it was for me.
They were awesome. Well, the
Who else is there?
Crashers.
Anyone else?
John Elefante and I'm trying to think.
John Elefante, there's a whole list of people. How I got excited to go to this is the year before a friend of mine went, she volunteered, and Sir Mix-a-Lot. And there's a video of her with,
from the band Kansas.
From the band Kansas was there. And Sir Mix-a-Lot was right behind her singing Baby Got Back. And I was like, I want to go to see Sir Mix-a-Lot sing Baby Got Back. So that's why I went, but he wasn't there. But we saw some other cool people.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Couple of different things. First of all, Kelly Vaughn is watching. She says hello.
What's up, Kelly Vaughn? Kelly Vaughn, for those of you guys who don't know, was Teacher of the Year every single year that she was here. I fired everyone else. Kelly was so Kelly really actually helped us going back about 7 years ago. She, so we hired her and she worked here tirelessly. It was amazing. So we love you. She moved with her husband to Colorado to help open a restaurant. Ooh, that's scary. So, so we love you guys and we miss you, Miss Kelly.
The next one is regarding Strictly's and Jack and Jill's. In prelims and semis, do you have to dance more than just the basics to make it through?
Ooh. So
In novice.
in novice. So if you guys don't know, Jack and Jills are strictly swings. Jack and Jills is a competition where you get matched up with random partners. You don't get to pick your partner. They match you up with a random partner. They play a song. They rotate partners, and then what they do is they take the best leaders and the best followers on to the next round, and then do a final round, depending upon how big the group is. They might go straight to a final. They pick the best 6 or 7 leaders and followers. So you don't know who you're dancing with. A strictly swing is you choose your partner. It cannot be your regular competitive dance partner. So in my world, if Miss Megan is my regular competitive partner, I could not dance a strictly swing with her, but I could ask Miss Emily, who's not my regular competitive partner, and I could choose my partner, and then they play random music. So the question was whether or not we need to do basics to get out of the first round. Was that the question, Ben? Oh, make sure.
Yes. So in novice, for prelims and semis, do you have to dance more than just the basics to make it through?
So this is a tricky question. Do we need to dance more than basics? So when you are in the novice division, right, we talked about the funnel. Like everyone enters through newcomer or novice. Novice is the biggest group of dancers because these are the people that have escaped their dance communities. They've survived. They've made it from beginner class to intermediate. They're good social dancers. They get to where they're going to go to a weekend competition and they sign their name on the dotted line and enter. So this is the first batch of competitors. And so this is a big struggle for people. They get mired in this big group. And so what you're typically told is you need to do timing, teamwork, and technique, right? And you need to dance your basics clean to get out of that division. And that is 100% true. So the question is, do I need to dance my basics in the early rounds to get out of that? More than your basics. Do you need to dance more than your basics? You're going to get told by teachers to do your basics and do them clean. I have an interesting philosophy. That is 100% true. If you were a bad mama jama dancing your basics, you would absolutely get out of those rounds. However, there's a key that I kind of think about, and that is, and when I judge these competitions, it's musicality. And let me explain why musicality becomes a big thing. If someone is able to dance patterns, not just basics or basics, and be musical within them, there are so many different things you need to master to be musical. You have to be connected, you have to have good teamwork, you have to have good timing, and if you can adjust that to the music at all, you've had to use all of your skills to start to accent the music. So I would work on those basic skills with the goal of understanding musicality, and if you know what the term counting straight eights is, that would be something I would focus on. If not, just Google #1 key to musicality or counting straight eights, or we'll drop a video for you guys. But that is the thing I would focus on, because once you can be somewhat musical, you've already mastered a lot of those things. So that's what will happen is the newer dancer will dance their basics and then not make it to the next round because someone else is doing flash and trash. But the reality is the flash and trash person probably has at least equivalent basics, but is now able to level up their basics into slightly less basic and to things that accent the music a little bit more. So it's a complex question. The answer to dance your basics really well is correct, and I think I would be able to dance my basics and make it out of a newcomer Jack and Jill or a novice Jack and Jill. But I would be dying to do things musical to the music. And so if you think you have a good handle on your basics, I would start to work into musicality, because if you can't master that, you're going to have to go back to your basics to fix the problems to be able to get the musicality component. So the musicality hurdle will tell you if your basics are good enough. That's my own personal, it's not, what's Fauci say? It's not, what's the test? The models? It's not a placebo-controlled trial test, but it is my observation, my model.
All right, completely off of dance, but back onto Derby. Do you have a favorite Derby winner?
Do I have a favorite Derby winner? Who's your favorite Derby winner? Miss Emily.
My favorite?
Yeah, your favorite Derby winner.
Oh gosh, I like Justified.
Emily says Justify and American Pharaoh. So I think my favorite Derby winner, in terms of the Derbies that I've been to, right? Because Secretariat was a mofo, so everyone likes Secretariat.
They're doing the virtual
There's going to be a virtual Kentucky Derby. Yeah, so for me, it was we have been able to see 2 Triple Crown winners, right? So the last Triple Crown winner before American Pharoah and Justify was back in 1973, before I was born, before any of us were born. And so and there's been a bunch of horses that got super close. And we've actually met a couple of those horses, Silver Charm and who's the other one?
Oh gosh.
There've been a couple of horses that won the first 2 legs of it. So for me, it would be American Pharoah because that was the first Triple Crown winner after, 30 years, 35 years.
Pretty epic.
Yeah, so that'd be my favorite. But then our attachment to Justify is we were able to see Justify not only win the Derby, but we knew some people at the track, and we were able to go see Justify's final workout at Churchill Downs on a beautiful sunny day. Did we get donuts that day? I don't remember. But I have a beautiful picture of Justify running across the finish line during his final workout. But I still think American Pharoah for me, because we saw American Pharoah come back to the track after the...
Won on Justify?
Oh, you won on Justify. You won a bet. So I'd have to go American Pharoah. Would you go Justify because you won?
I don't know. And then there's yeah, probably Justify then American Pharoah.
And then, my own who was it? The black horse at Old Farms. War Emblem.
Oh yeah.
War Emblem. Look up War Emblem. War Emblem was a mother.
A Mama Jama.
A Mama Jama. War Emblem was like the most temperamental horse ever. We met War Emblem, and he is a bastard of a horse. And he probably would have won the Triple Crown, but he came out of the gate hot in the final leg of the Triple Crown and got run down in the stretch. But just because he's crazy, I like War Emblem.
Always dreaming.
Always Dreaming. Oh, no, I don't like Always Dreaming. He messed up my picks. I picked,
I was trying to think of the dream.
this year I picked, no, it wasn't,
This year was crazy.
this year it was Country Horse 1.
Yes.
Who was the horse who was supposed to win?
Like 20 to 1.
65 to 1. Who was the horse who was supposed to win? Funny story about this year at Derby. I went down and I had a bet. I had a list of bets because I was following. Every year I follow and I try to figure out shitty strategy. Your best betting strategy, there's 2 betting strategies that work really well. Number 1, go to the track, put $1 down on every race, and then everyone picks their horse based upon the name, right? So a name that's relevant to Skyscraper. Oh, Ben's tall. That's your horse, right? My nickname was Superstar. Super Horse. Oh, that's yours, Brian B. Pink Power. That's yours, Emily. So whatever. And we bet $1. That is a good strategy because if you win 1 race in the day, like out of 8 races against your friends, you walk home with $8, you'll do well. Second one is to pick the color, and then everything else sucks and you'll lose more and more money. That's been my betting strategy.
So, Code of Honor, Tacitus.
Code of Honor,
War of
Tacitus,
Will.
War of Will.
Those were all. War of Will should have not.
Got bumped. Yeah, I'm so sad. Now I'm thinking about it. The Derby would have been tomorrow. Would have been the best weekend we've had in
Yeah.
For the Derby,
7 years.
sunny and like
Sunny and beautiful. Any other questions? Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose. I want to talk to you. I have a little bit of bourbon left.
Had a little bit of bourbon for a while.
Top effort, man. Killing it.
Kentucky Derby. But when all this craziness is done, come to Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to host a workshop. How many people are still left?
Maximum security, that was.
Maximum security. That was the bet I was going to make.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Thank you.
it's a mud race. I should bet on maximum security followed by Code of Honor, which is the order that they came across the finish line. So I ran downstairs to make the bet. Maximum security first, Code of Honor second. Would have been a huge payout. I'm going to bet $20 on that exacta, just in that order. And I ran downstairs and I got to the window and I'd spent almost all my money because I took a fixed amount of money, which is what you're supposed to do. And so I was like, shit, I want to order a Bud Light, for the walkout because you can drink on the street outside the track. It's pretty fun.
Way cheaper than.
And so, so I didn't make the bet. And then I walked back upstairs, but I had maximum security as the winner.
Yeah.
And then he lost. Boom. So anyways, I think I won. I won some sort of bet. No, Code of Honor. No, I didn't win anything. I didn't win anything. I don't even know I didn't even follow the horses this year into the Derby. Terrible. What's up, my 40-something people? Do we have any other questions, interaction? Nothing. Do you have a question, Ben? Let's take one question from each one of you just to entertain me.
He wants a question from each of us.
Who?
You guys.
A question from us.
Oh.
Do you have a question off the top of your head?
No. Hold on.
Nobody?
Yeah, no.
Do you have a topic?
Do I have a topic? Sports.
What
Oh,
is
that's
your
terrible.
They're not happening right now.
dance moment ever?
What is my favorite dance moment ever? Easy. After I retired from line dancing, there was an issue with whether or not I was eligible for that year's competition. They told me the day that I left for the competition at the World Championships that I wasn't eligible. I didn't hit my qualifiers, whatever. So I promptly wrote a retirement letter and retired from line dancing, which you can do. You quit when you don't get your goal. You can retire if you've achieved your goal. I achieved my goal, so I retired on that day, and then they, my friends who ran the event, they offered to pay me a fee to dance in the show. So I readjusted my routine and I danced in the show, and it was a couple of days after the competition was, and I'd been dancing in Superstars for over 10 years, so I'd been in this ballroom at the Country Dance World Championships for 11 out of the previous 10 years. I missed 1 year with a broken arm. And I walked out to the floor, and I had my head down at the beginning of the routine, and the audience gave me a standing ovation. And I remember like crying and watching my tears drop and hit the floor. And don't make me all sappy with 40 people on a live feed. And then the routine actually, because I redid it for a show, had a false ending, what looked like the ending, and then it came back and did like a little reprise. And so the audience stood up and cheered after the false ending. That was the second standing ovation, and then they did it again at the end of the routine. So yeah. I've gotten a lot of standing ovations in my life, and I'm thankful for that, but to get 3 in one night was pretty friggin' sick. That was pretty sick. Can't beat that. Second, actually, was with you, Miss Megan. My second favorite moment was after years of being off the competitive floor, like, a decade?
Long time.
Shit, no, because I danced ballroom a bunch. I danced a number of years in ballroom, so I danced like 3 years in ballroom. But back on the country dance floor in 2017 in San Francisco, it was a much smaller ballroom than we're accustomed to, and the audience was really on top of us. And typically at the World Championships, there's all these lights, like there's lights right off camera. And so when you look into the lights, you can't see the people. It's very dark. It's very much like being on a stage as a ballet or show dancer. Where typically in West Coast Swing and Country, we're looking at the audience eye level. But at the 2017 World Championships, the audience was really, really close, and there was no lights in our way, and so I could see all the people, and the energy in that room was fucking awesome. So that was the second, and I swore on video.
Staying on that topic, what has been your best moment as a coach?
My best moment as a coach, maybe with you, Benjamin. What? Aaron? Oh, you thought I was gonna say Aaron. That's a good one. That's a good one. Coaching might have been our moment with you that spawned the whole book. So as a coach, maybe like on the floor, maybe with Benjamin. But the other one was Erin Abel, who was a student of mine. She was here for almost 10 years, super overachiever, very good dancer, maybe not the best, but very good. And she won, did she win twice in Pro-Am? As an amateur, she won intermediate and advanced. Yeah, so she won, basically worked her way through the levels as an amateur from newcomer to novice to advanced, won a world championship, never wanted to become a professional dancer. She was a physical therapist and married and had other things going on. This was just one of the things that she loved. And then she began to climb another mountain, because some of us, when we climb a mountain, we look for another mountain. Some of us, when we climb a mountain, we look for a chair. My partner, Miss Megan, climbs a mountain, she looks for a chair. We'll tell you that story in a second. But so Erin climbs a mountain and she looks for another mountain. And so she started a 3-year journey. Did it take her 3 years? It took her several years to ascend through the ranks of line dancing to get to the top level of, in essence, professional line dancing, which is the superstar division. The qualification is not easy. She got to the superstar level of line dancing and earned her qualifiers, went to the World Championship, and she did this really cool, like, inspirational solo with Rocky, and she wore blue, the blue corner, because the champion fights out of the red corner, but the challenger fights out of the blue corner, and she got knocked down in the routine. She came back up. It was super inspirational. And so she came out. It was oddly enough the 20th year, anniversary of the Superstar Line Dance division. I started in the second year, so I wasn't there the whole time, but it was largely a division that I was pretty instrumental in. And so to sit back on the side of the floor and watch my student come out, and she finished in the middle of the pack, which was fantastic. All she wanted to do was belong, and she definitely belonged, and she did a really cool inspirational solo. And shout out to Siobhan Dunn. Dance Babble? Is that her new page? Dance Babble on Facebook. Siobhan Dunn, who was competing for the, I think she won that year.
She did Aqueduct.
Yeah.
And so she, in the solo medley, you always want to go last, the recency principle. And Siobhan had never met my student Erin, but heard Erin had a really inspirational solo, and she drew her number and could have picked to go last, but asked Erin if she would like to go last because it was an inspirational solo. So shout out to Siobhan Dunn. She had a rough year this year at the World Championships, but bless her heart, she's a great person. See, I wish everyone could see this. It was great. And she's an amazing dancer, and she's got a good family. And they're really ridiculously good looking, too. And Linus, her husband.
Well, he's married into the family.
Yeah, he's married into the family. He's good looking, too. Freaks.
Talking about Derby and Nulu and judging, do you judge at Derby and Nulu Open?
Do I judge at Derby and Nulu Open? No. Largely, the rules prevent that for good reason. So no, I do not judge at any of my events. There are even different rules that prevent us, like for instance, at the Swing Dance Council events, WSDC events, the event directors are now no longer able to compete in any division at their events, which makes total sense. Like ethically, I feel confident that I could, like at our swing event, I wouldn't do any of the divisions until Sunday. There was Pro-Am where I could dance with my students. The event was here, so the way we worked it, the rules are changed now, so we can't even compete anymore. But I used to dance as the teacher with my students, and then on Sunday, I would stay out of the staff room, out of the judging room, so I was not, I don't even know there's a rule, there's no one checking, but like I wouldn't go into the scoring room, into the staff room, I would be out of that, so I'd basically be like an attendee on Sunday of my own event until the awards were read, and then I go back to going to work. And for country events, they do not let you judge your own events, as far as I know. You can dance. At country events, you can dance in your own events, but you are not allowed to judge.
What events are on your schedule this year if events are able to happen?
What events are on our schedule? So starting now, we would be at Nulu Open in a week, our own event. Then we were going to be going to a workshop in Albuquerque. We just talked to the fine folks in Albuquerque, so we love you guys. We miss you. I talked to Susan today on the phone. So we would be in Albuquerque the end of this month. June would have been an Indie Dance X. It's a country and swing event and line dance event the last weekend of June this year. What's in July?
Nothing, but Arizona is the first weekend.
If New Orleans were going, we would be in New Orleans. We would be on a cruise headed to Alaska in mid-July. First or second weekend in August would be the Arizona Dance Classic because I freaking love Arizona. My friend Mona Brandt runs that event. What else? Nashville, the first weekend of September, which is now supposed to be the Derby. Who knows if that's going to go on?
Typically Dixie after that.
And then we have a big, long wait to Christmas in Dixie. And there, over the years, there's been a ton of events we've attended, a ton of everything. USA Dance events and NDCA ballroom events and World Swing Dance Council swing events and UCWDC country events. And just over the years, we've pared our schedule down because even if you add 5 or 6 events to each of those circuits, that alone can be 20, 25 events. And then we have a studio, so we have a couple of studio showcases, and then you add in a couple of holidays, and pretty soon we are literally booked all but like 12 weekends a year. So we've pared them down over the years. It's not because we don't love you guys and don't want to travel, but we have responsibilities here, and there's a lot going on. And we like to be home. I like the downtime right now.
How did line dancing help your partner dancing?
How did line dancing help my partner dancing? It absolutely taught me all of the skills that I have within my body on my own because I had no partner to rely upon. Unequivocally, in competitive line dancing, is so wide reaching. We had to do all of the different styles. We had to do cha-cha and East Coast swing and West Coast swing and jive and samba, and we had lyrical stuff, and we had rise and fall like waltz. We had foxtrots. I did a Viennese waltz. We were able to incorporate a lot of ballet and hip hop and street dancing. So it was so wide reaching that I developed a really wide skill set of my own body and my own dancing. And that was the biggest advantage, because you have no partner to rely upon. So from within your own body, that was very easy to me. The struggle became when I was used to moving in this space, and all of a sudden I was not the one at the end of the picture. I was now the frame, not the picture. And I was used to being the picture. So that was actually a struggle for me, was learning to dance in my own space as a leader. That was a big struggle, because I'd gotten really good by myself, but I still had to pay all the dues as a partner dancer. So that was ugh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
How does a leader, or how do you as a leader, adjust your lead to a follow? Some follows require a stronger lead, some a lighter. How can somebody sort that out?
How can you, yeah, so I don't have to repeat the question, because Ben does such a great job of narrating, doesn't he? He does a good job. So how do I adjust my lead? I'm monitoring it right off the bat. So 2 phases. Number 1, I have to have the skill set to be able to adjust, right? So if someone is a light follower, if someone is a heavy follower, what do I do? So how do I tighten down the lead, or how do I just trust that she's gonna go? I think that's 2 different things. Number 1, if the follower is really, really, really light, it's trusting that the follower is gonna go where you take your hand. If they are heavy, it's one of 2 things. Either they're naturally heavy and they're still really good, in which case you can do what you're doing just with a heavier lead and they'll go, or they're heavy because they're not, going back to the line dance thing, they're not able to move their own body as effectively, and now you have to really dig into your skill set as the leader and understand where they're supposed to be on different patterns. So developing that skill set that way. What would I do with a light lead? I would just trust that they would go. With a heavy lead, now I have to really dig in and understand where the follower needs to be on different parts of patterns so I can assist them in being there. And then number 2 is, at the beginning of the dance, I am monitoring which path am I on. Am I dancing with a very able-bodied, quick-triggered follower, in which case I can just let the hand go and I've got some freedom, or do I need to hunker down and pay attention because the follower isn't very good? It is very heavy, but it's because she can't move her body super effectively. Or do I just have a heavier follower? Like, I think you and I, Megan, dance fairly heavy. I think it's heavier, but I don't think it's classified as heavy. Yeah, so like we have a heavier connection, but I don't have to worry about where she's going. Our body weight's connected. And I think that's a product of being a routine dancer for a long, long period of time. Are you a lighter or heavier leader, Benjamin? Heavy, strong? Yes. Are you a lighter or heavier follower?
It depends on who I'm.
Light.
I think you're light.
Oh, see, I think I feel heavy with him.
Ben says.
I have to be.
Yeah.
It depends on the person I'm dancing with.
Megan thinks she's a little heavy. Ben thinks she's a little light, because you respond really well. How about you? Are you a lighter?
I just dance.
Emily's a heavier follower.
Heavy. Oh my God, as a leader, I think she's totally light.
The reason that I say that, as I get smacked behind the camera,
You didn't get touched behind the camera.
is they're both very different dancers. Megan very much is, as in other videos, she's in the box, and so she responds within the basics very quickly and very well. Emily is always looking to emphasize the music, and because she's looking to emphasize the music, she is very good at communicating when she's wanting to do something. And she's very good at holding her spot whenever I'm wanting to just do a straight basic, and she's like, nope, there's a hit coming up.
Got it. Yeah, that's fascinating. You know what I'm fascinated at? That any of us can figure this out. What a weird thing we are into. You have to learn a skill, right? Moving your body to a skill, that's a difficult thing. Like, think about a martial art. You have to learn all this kata and this specific way of moving. But then you have to coordinate with another partner. Then you have to coordinate to the music. So that is, like, I tried to practice the drums this year, and timing was a disgusting issue. Like, it was terrible. Because I know what timing is, I can feel it, I can sense it, but I had to develop the skill set to keep on time and keep the time. So that was a skill set within my body. I knew it intellectually, but you have to develop the skill. Well, in partner dancing, I have to develop that skill within my own body. Then I have to develop the timing. Then my partner has to develop the skill and her own timing. Then we might be a little bit off in our approaches, and we have to manage that together. So it's freaking amazing that any of us, if you're watching this video, you qualify as amazing. That's it. I still have one smaller bourbon. On that note,
Happy Oaks Day!
hope you guys were entertained. Happy Oaks Day. Tomorrow we come back and we have 2 videos. What's the first video? The second one I'm super excited about.
The first video is three
Can you toss me my phone?
3 different
Right there.
dance styles.
Boom. So, because I got to make sure the Forest is going to be here tomorrow.
If not, we'll just do a Q&A. But everyone should dance up.
Yeah.
Dance up like they're going to Derby.
So tomorrow, let's have a virtual Derby party.
Virtual Kentucky Derby.
Virtual Kentucky Derby. So we are going to be I'm going to wear my bow tie and my whole Derby. I'll come fully decked out for the Derby tomorrow. But the goal tomorrow is our conversation with Forrest Outman. It's a Q&A, so if you have any questions about the history of West Coast Swing, the history of a particular dance style, he is an amazing resource. Really, really bright guy and really passionate guy about doing his homework and doing research on the history of dancing. So he's the one who actually, in the previous video, East Coast Swing versus West Coast Swing, was the one that found the article tracking the name of West Coast Swing as first being used in 1957 in Wyoming. So he's a fascinating guy. The only thing you can do is to throw him off track is ask him a question that he has an answer to, and he can't show you a manual. Because I've had 2 conversations over Skype with him for like over an hour apiece, and he brings every manual and shows me exactly why he thinks what he thinks. Because he doesn't speak in ideas, he speaks in facts, and a pretty brilliant guy. So there are other dance historians out there, but he's my go-to resource, so I'm excited. I'm going to prod him on a little bit of the history of West Coast Swing. I'm going to prod him a little bit on the history of two-step and how that came about, because these are some blind spots for me. So thanks, guys. We're going to end off because they're laughing and giggling behind the camera. Bye, guys.